Welcome to Taming the Chaos of Entrepreneurship. Today I'm super excited because I have Scott and Angela Losack, who have become special friends. If you saw I did a LinkedIn Live earlier today, and I talked about how Angie and I go to the same networking group in Grapevine, Texas, good old the Christmas capital of Texas, and and we see each other a lot of weeks. And it's funny because I was talking in the live today, like how networking is not just about going and pitching your business. It is really about going and creating real relationships with people. And so me and Angie got into a discussion last week about fiber, or a couple of weeks ago about fiber. And that's not generally on the docket when you're at a networking event, but you never know what might come up when you're talking with your friend Angie Losack.
Finances and fiber.
I saw you.
Yeah.
So I want to welcome you guys today. Scott and I say Angie. Is it Angie, Angela?
Yeah, it's good.
Okay. It's Scott and Angela own Credit Repair USA. So those of you guys that know me know that I instantly was connected to both of them because I love to talk about finances. And now, like, I am so excited that I have them in my network, because when people call me and they ask me things, and it happens all the time, that friends, family call me and ask about, this is on my credit, or this is, and it just happened a couple of weeks ago. Angie, one of my friends, called and asked me questions, and I was like, you know what? I can get you to here, but if you'll call Angie, she can get you to here. And so in that instance, they had stuff on their credit that did not belong to them. And so I said, just call Angie. And they were so glad that they called you. And so I'm super excited. I've never had anybody in your space in my network, and like, you guys are it. Like, when people call me and ask me about credit, Scott and Angie, just call Scott and Angie. So I just send them straight over to you guys. So I'm super excited. Today we're going to talk about a lot of things, but one of the things I really want to hit on is, just, if you're here and you're listening, we're going to hit on businesses and credit. And this question gets asked a lot, and it comes up a lot at our networking meeting with me and Angie. And so I'm super excited to throw it out on the table. But first, I want to ask you guys a couple of get to know you questions. So this is all about supporting other entrepreneurs, because entrepreneurship is lonely, right? Do you guys feel like that?
Yes.
There is days where you feel like it's just us and we're swimming all by ourselves, right? And so I really want to make sure that we're connecting with people. So tell me, Scott and Angie, how long have you guys been doing Credit USA? When did you open?
I'm going to defer just because we have a team. I don't want anyone to think that Credit Repair USA, the financial solutions that we provide is provided by our entire team. It is definitely not me. So I'm going to let Scott answer that.
Thank you. So we've been open. We actually bought the business. So I'm with a financial background. I was looking for something in the financial industry, like you were talking about, Penny. I love talking business, and so this is on that spectrum of financing and financial services. So we bought an existing business back in 2020, January 2020. Yes. It seems like it was
right
so
in the
long
middle
ago.
of lockdown.
It was a long time.
And so yeah, we love. I don't know if we'll have enough time, but just talking about our journey, just whether people are out there looking to buy a business, that's one aspect of getting into a business, or you start your business on your own and you just kind of grow it that way, and then just working through all the different things that an entrepreneur. I think it feels like we've run through them all already, but
Yeah.
I know.
Okay,
It's
so
just,
you guys have been doing this almost 5 years.
Mhm.
So I want to hear, you guys are pretty well into it. You've gone through some. I'm assuming you've made some mistakes, and you've had some great days, and you've had some not so great. So can you tell us of a great day? What a great day looked like for you, and I want you to recall for us, what's been a bad day for you. What's a bad day for Scott and Angie?
we do, being a husband and wife, we usually have to do a good cop, bad cop anyway. Do you want to be the
Right.
good cop and I'll be the bad cop, or?
That's fine. Sure.
So I'll start with the bad to try to make it short and sweet. Is that when we started, we had a partner that went sour, and we learned very quickly when buying a business and a partnership, you don't always know all the details ever, and all the planning and all the legal and all the CPA, everything can be in place, and still some things can go sour. And so that was a huge, very fast learning curve that we had to go on, and escort that partner out, and then just learning how to navigate as a family owned business, as a husband and wife working together in a different capacity than we had ever worked before. That was a very huge learning curve, and something I said,
Did
we'll
you
write
think
a
you
book.
had made a mistake? Was there a moment when you thought we'd make a mistake?
Absolutely. I don't know how, I mean, there are some people that will say, when they own their own business, is there not a week that goes by that you don't want to burn everything down? And somebody said that, and I was like, yeah, probably on a weekly basis.
Yeah.
I'm not. He's much more the glass is always full, and mine's, oh gosh, I'm not sure. And so yeah, I think
Yeah.
I think that's just normal part of entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
So I want
Yeah.
to tee up to the good days.
The good days.
Yeah, I was laughing because sometimes it felt like every day, and you know what though, I would say the bad days, we have a lot fewer of those now than at the beginning, and I think that's probably a common theme, is what I would guess, is because in the beginning you're just trying to keep everything going forward, and wheels are falling off and things are happening. So it feels like, from the good side of it, it feels like we have a lot more good days than bad days now, and our bad days aren't as bad as they once were. So that's always good to reflect back on. I would say a couple, just the one that always jumps out at me. So this is almost like a a mission for us, in a sense of giving back to the community and helping people out. I think we've got three kids that they're grown and gone through school, but we always said, hey, the schools need more financial education. And we run into those people
Yes.
now, in their 30s or 40s or 50s, and it's our way of kind of like, what, we really want to pour into them and help educate them. And so one story was um, an immigrant from the Congo, Democratic Republic of Congo, in the Congo, in Africa. And he'd been in the country for 10 years. I don't know how he found us. We found him. We started talking. He realized it was going to be his credit card. He was having some credit card issues, and as we were talking, he realized that he was trying to pay the credit card limit. He had a $3,000 credit card limit, and he thought that's what he would have to pay every month. And so when I told him he just needed to pay his balance, his eyes lit up. He just got so excited. He said, I've been here 10 years. I just wish someone would have told me that 10 years ago. And so to hear that kind of story was just like, oh my gosh, there's just so many people that are like that out there, that are trying to do the right thing, pay their bills, work hard, and they're just missing a piece or two. And when they just find those pieces, their world changes. So
Yeah. Yeah. That's so
those are the
true.
good stories. That's it's more specific to our business a little bit, but
Yeah.
for us, that's kind of where that's what makes it all worth it when you look back and say, okay, we're really helping some people out.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. That's good. I know we've kind of talked about this before, Angie, how we're seeing this generation, and the financial ignorance that kids are graduating high school and college with. And I really think that we have a whole entire generation of parents. We failed to teach the next generation because my generation is drowning in debt and doesn't know how to get out. And so I think that my generation is realizing we don't have a flipping clue what we're doing, and we're not teaching our kids anything. And I think that we have a whole generational problem of just that ignorance, and it just keeps going. And credit cards is a relatively new thing. My grandparents were probably the first generation to have credit cards, and houses didn't, a few generations ago, it didn't take 30 years to pay off a house. They were borrowing 15-year notes. And so it's become a bigger and bigger problem with each generation. And something has to change, because as a nation, we're in trouble. But that's not even like, I can't fix the nation. But when I talk to one family, and you guys, I know you feel the same way, one family, if this family can get it, then we can fix this family. We can fix them and their friends, because it kind of spreads like wildfire. I know in my life, when I found a core of friends that cared about getting out of debt and living on a budget. They were my friends. And then when we would start to talk about it in other circles, other people would be like, wait a minute, how do you do that? Tell me what to do. And then it kind of starts to spread like wildfire. Well, if you can live like that, I think I could do that too. I want to get out of debt, and I want to live on a budget, and I just think we can change a family, then we can change a neighborhood, then we can change a community, we
Yeah.
can
Oh yeah.
change our county, we can change our city, and somehow, some way, we can affect a nation, and then we can affect a generation and
Yeah.
get people to live within their means. And I think that, and so we're going to talk about credit because it's the world we live in. And I am a firm believer in in living within your means. Okay. But I admit that I am not one of those that says absolutely no credit cards ever. I'm not one of those people. And I think that's because I go and rent cars. I just went and rented a car, and they put a nice large hold, because the car that I rented was $120,000 card. So they're going to put a nice pretty hold on my credit card. And I want to make sure that there's plenty of room on that credit card so that they can put that hold. So and you guys, I want to hear you guys' take on this. So when people talk to me about personal finances, I'm not one of those people. Now, I talk to people, if you're drowning in debt or you don't use it responsibly, I say cut them up. Don't close them, but cut them up.
Good. Good.
And so tell me why. I saw you guys' eyes. Why do you not close a credit card account? Why do you cut it up? And how do you talk to people about that when they come to you?
Yeah, I can jump. I'll
Yeah.
jump
Well,
in.
I mean, I always they want people want to say cash is king, but really credit is queen, and we know the queens went
Yeah.
over, right? And so
Yeah.
it's the financial leverage that when you start closing your accounts, cut up is one thing, you can always order another one, but when you start closing, then that starts hurting your score.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, part of the score is the history of your accounts. And so if you had a credit card from when you were in high school and you've just had it for 20 years and you closed it out, you lose all that history. And so that goes into the score. And 2 points I make to that is, one, the two best scores are a 0 and an 850. So to get to the 850, you need that long credit history. It just takes time to get that credit history. The 0 is
Like
if you
25 years.
right, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it. And so when you close those cards out, you just can't. You got to start over again, and it's rough.
Yeah.
The 0 is if you pay cash for everything, which is a good thing. You don't have any
Yes.
debt. But when you try to your point, when you try to leverage credit, credit's not always a bad thing. It can be very helpful, especially for a business owner, to tap into those credit lines to be able to fund a business or payroll or whatever it might be. Um, so the other side, the other thing I always tell people is we want your credit working for you instead of you working for your credit. And that's where to your point, if you're so far into debt, if you're running high credit card balances, you're working for your credit because you're paying 30% interest or whatever high interest rates, or you're getting high, auto loans, whatever. Those two combined are kind of where we sit when we talk to people. Like, it's not bad. It's not always good. It's just how you manage it. And kind of back to the entrepreneurship is, if you run your life, you run your family home life like you run your business. You see a lot of similarities there. So you manage business credit similarly. You don't go too far overboard there.
Yeah.
It starts to work for you.
Right. And if you want to,
You're
you
exactly
can
right.
float, but your floating time is your 30 days. So you use those cards to float, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. But at the end of the 30 days, it's due. And that's how you need to think about that credit card working for you in a 30-day, calendar moment.
Yeah. We our story is that we were young and married, and we had friends that got a credit card and they were racking up miles, and we thought, well, we'll get a credit card and we'll rack up miles and we'll travel the world. And within just a very few weeks, we went from living on this month's salary to living on next month's salary. And we found ourselves young, married, and in debt. And we were like, how did this happen? And we were smart people, like
Mm-hmm.
hardworking, smart people. And then it just happens. So it's so good. And Scott, to echo your point, especially when I have clients come to me and I can see I can see their business finances. I can tell you what their personal finances look like.
Oh, right.
And it's such an emotional thing. And so I don't take it lightly, because I'm not just looking at a set of business books. I'm looking at, they're showing me their life.
Mm-hmm.
And some of us, and the way that we deal with our money all the time comes from our family of origin. And so when you let somebody like me or like you guys look into that part of somebody's life, it's a big deal. There's emotional ties. Do you guys attest to that there's emotional ties
Oh,
to that?
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
Um, no, go ahead.
well, we just, so many people we deal with on the emotional side of it is they're in a hole, and they feel like they can't get out of it. And
Whatever their story was that got them there,
yeah,
like you said.
Mhm.
And so always dealing, we try to keep it black and white because we don't want to, we're not trained counselors, and beyond your finances, so we just try to keep in that counseling, that educational, that consultative space of really being able to address and, put some firm, action plans in place and so forth. And so that's kind of how we deal with every single consultation that, comes our way.
I think so much peace comes by just having a plan.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if they can just get on the phone with you and get a plan, like,
Yeah.
so much peace comes just having a plan. You are
Right.
not going to fix it overnight. You didn't get there overnight, but you're going to have a plan, and you're going to have a partner to stick through it with you,
Mm-hmm.
to hold
Exactly.
you to that plan. Let's switch gears a little bit. I want to talk about businesses, and especially businesses and credit. So some of this has come up a few times in our conversations at our networking events, but talk to me about, can a brand new business get a credit card? How does a brand new business get a credit card? Or should they?
The answer is yes and yes. I mean, usually, they're, the biggest thing that we always help individuals that are going into that business credit space. Again, most of the loans and so forth are going to reflect on what your personal score is, before you can get that loan and so forth. So it's about building the business credit usually. And so, of course, having everything very separate, having a separate account, and then adding to that lines of credit. Um, so you're going to the bank. Let's use Chase, for example, big bank, and you're getting that business account and you're getting a credit card. They gladly sign over to you.
Okay. And so it's personally, they're pulling your personal credit score to do that.
Mhm.
What if you're talking to somebody that has a marred credit score and they want to start a business? Ideas?
Right. You kind of stole my thunder because
Mhm.
that's with businesses that start out, everyone needs to be aware is it's your personal. That's what they're going to look at first. Because you don't have you don't have history, you don't have business inventory, you don't have cars, trucks, stuff that they can lend against typically. So they're going to look for your personal stuff first. And so yes, that's where we work with a lot of people, shore up their personal side so that they can start their business side. To your point, yes, the business credit card, just like you're building your own personal credit, it's very similar on the business side with a few little nuances there, but having an open credit card that you pay all the time. Business, you want to pay those sooner than later. That always helps you on the business side. But yes, that's going to help out your credit. And your personal side is the first place they go to until you get your business up and running and have some history and some assets for them to lend against. So
Yeah.
And kind of,
I think, correct me, I don't, I think this is how it went for me. I got a credit card for my business as soon as we started up. I did it through Bill. So I got a Bill spend and expense card. And they did a soft pull.
mhm.
And so it didn't hit my credit, but they did a soft pull and gave me, like, I think $1,000 on day one of my opening my business. Is that
Mhm.
typical?
So you're getting a little bit. So the business and the personal side are a little bit different in a sense of, and we get a lot of that from people that on their business side that doesn't show up on your personal. That shows up under the business. So what you're talking about, you might have got a card for the business.
Yep.
They still may have looked at your personal stuff, but
Mhm.
once it's under the business, it starts all reporting on the business and not on your personal, on your credit
Okay, so
report.
how does a business know how their business credit is? We can go to freecreditscore.com as an individual. How do you know as a business how your credit score is?
So they have so there's similar type organizations for businesses. Dun and
Dun&
Bradstreet's
Bradstreet, yeah.
is the top one that you'd hear the most about. So you'd want to go to that to check your business credit. Typically, you're going to pay for it. I guess they think all businesses make a lot of money and you can afford to pay for it. But
And actually, it's really not necessary. There's those building blocks that you need to do before you even, you just kind of, you're in that building mode. Everything's going towards the business. All credit cards. Maybe you open a second one. Before you're checking that, right? You're still in that building mode of just adding to the business, paying the credit card balance a couple times a month versus just on the 30-day mark or so forth. And so
Yeah.
kind of getting ahead of that is always going to help too. And then again, just like a personal or a business, if you're going for a loan, let's say a equipment loan, we had a client just recently, and they were a thriving business, good cash flow, a lot of things were going well, but they could not buy any more equipment, and so it was kind of hindering their business that they weren't able to build that piece of machinery or buy that piece of machinery and so forth. And so we had to get very aggressive and get very creative of how we were building that credit, so that line of credit, and so sometimes it's just creative solutions with stacking those solutions together to be able to accomplish that purchase and so forth. And so you've got to really kind of.
You keep mentioning lines of credit.
Mhm.
So let's talk about lines of credit. So I know that is going to help your credit. And so, I mean, honestly, I haven't thought about it for my own business. I need to go open a line of credit, and I should have, but
Mhm.
not until I talk to you guys because I haven't
Mhm.
needed it. But it's not about needing it; it's about having it open
Right.
and having that credit available.
Mhm. Mhm.
But also, let's talk about when it's a good idea for a company to open one. And I think we've established basically open one, even if you don't use it,
Yeah. Day
or
one.
don't use it, be careful about using it.
Mhm.
Um, but what kind of companies is that great for? And when do companies get into trouble with lines of credit? You guys
It's
have any?
no, it's a great question, and I kind of smiling because that really is a very good tie back into your personal side. Your personal life of um, when do you need credit? Well, the I'm from the financial services investment side. Warren Buffett, he always says you want to have the money when you don't need it.
Right.
Get those lines of credit lined up. We always say from our if we're talking to people, you want a good relationship with a CPA early on in your business, an attorney, and a banker. And
And a
whether
bookkeeper,
you
you
need them or
forgot.
what's that?
And the bookkeeping company, you forgot them.
Bookkeeping,
Well,
of
yeah,
course. Yeah, that's what
CPA
I
and
mean.
bookkeeping
CPA,
together.
bookkeeping,
Yeah.
bookkeeping more
I
important than
forgive you, Scott. It's all
yes.
good.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's right.
um,
Yeah.
but but you have those lines of credit lined up before you need them. And same way with the personal side is with a credit card. Just because you have it doesn't mean when you were saying when you're married, you go world traveling and you run up the debt. And so what we always say is, especially from a business standpoint or even personal, have that lined up for those rare opportunities that come by where you can make more money, grow your business. It's a great opportunity to do something that you may not have the cash ready to go, but you have a line of credit ready to go. And so you have a very clear sight of the revenue that's going to be coming back from that. And that's when you would use it. So it's when would you use it? When the opportunity for the business arises and you have the ability to pay that back. Uh, Again, similar to your personal side, in a short amount of time, ideally within the month. But again, from a business cash flow, if you know it's going to take you a certain amount of time, but you're going to be able to pay it back, then yeah, it makes sense. So,
Yeah. And just like the example I was using with the equipment, the guy got the loan, eventually got the loan, but then at the same time, we were working on the credit limit going up. So he was able to buy it with the credit card and then 2 weeks later pay it off with the loan. What that allowed him to do is kind of play in that game of bolstering the credit worthiness by spending and, in a timely manner, paying it off and handling that responsibly. But then, getting those credit limits up higher for
Yeah.
those, again, times that you
And
need
we
it.
won't, there's all kinds of rules about when to leverage in business. And Scott, I know you're a genius in that area some and with personal finances and like it should be leveraged for an asset or something that makes you money. And in that case, equipment is going to make that money and it's going to provide revenue. And so it's
Yeah.
going to pay for itself. And sometimes a line of credit wouldn't be a good thing there. It would be an equipment loan or whatever. And so I want to be clear that there is rules about when to leverage debt to grow a business.
Yeah.
And you should definitely talk to a financial advisor or your CPA, plan that tax wise. Right now it's December. I have lots of clients that are talking about what do I need to buy in December because I need, tax wise and stuff.
Yeah.
So we're doing a lot of tax meetings and stuff. So, but what I want to recap what I heard you guys say, because I just heard it for my own self. Get a business credit card, open a line of credit, get the money available before you need it
Yes.
so that when you're presented with an opportunity, you're ready to go. And I think that was wise words. And I'm taking that away today, Scott. Like, I'm going to go talk to my bank and open a line of credit. One of the places that I've seen clients use it responsibly is like construction clients that have 6-month projects. Well, they're paying contractors here in month one. They're not collecting for that portion of that work until month two. And so they need to they need to have that cash flow float to get to month two when the client's going to do that draw to pay those contractors. And so when you're in a cyclical business like that, you need that line of credit to make sure that your business is not throwing out bad checks to contractors. So there is definitely times when you need that. What do you guys think business owners need to know about credit that they don't know?
well, a lot of the points we've covered. I mean, get it when you don't need it, and manage it wisely. And if you do get into trouble, with the debt, where you thought something was going to happen and it didn't happen, and now you're burdened with a debt. Um, make sure you can get that paid off, or work towards a plan, like you'd said earlier. Plan it out and say, okay, this didn't work out the way we wanted it to. Let's go ahead and clear this debt, within the year or 6 months or whatever it might be, so that we can get back on our feet. Because when you're burdened with that debt, whether it's a personal or business, it just limits your opportunities. And so, from a personal standpoint, when you have all that debt and you cancel a credit card, that's the worst case scenario, because now your credit score is down. You canceled that Chase card or whatever you had. Now you can't get one back because your credit score is down. Same way with the business. You're going to get caught there on your business side, in a similar situation. So
Yeah.
that would be my 2 cents.
And we have ratios that we talk with our clients about what your debt to income ratio, and it's the same as in personal finances. So we have those, and that's one of the things that I encourage my clients to be looking at on a consistent basis. Those people that are using debt, is that debt to income ratio, and so I know that you guys are talking about that.
I think too, we just have a lot of business owner clients that make a lot of money in their business, and their business is going well, but they haven't had time, or that building process of the business, they really let their personal credit go to, and it's in the toilet, and they just haven't worried about it, because they're like, money's coming in, so it's all good, and I can pay my bills, and financially I'm fine. And then they go to build something else, or there's an acquisition, or just all different things that can come about, and we can give you 5 million examples, but they've had a horrible time, because again, it's going back to their personal credit, and then they get very frustrated, because they're like, no, I don't want to do this. This was 3 years ago, this was 5 years ago. I mean, some things can stay on 7 years. So I think that personal credit, just not ignoring that piece, it really goes hand in hand.
Yeah, that's good. You're so right, Angie. Like, I've come across lots of clients that they put all the assets in the business. Everything's in the business. And over here, we've got nothing going on. And then the business fails, and then you've got nothing. And so you're right. Like, those two have to be built at the same time. And you really have to pay attention to both. One's not more important than the other. They're both very important. And just because cash is coming in the business does not set you up for 10 years down the road.
Or you sell it, which every entrepreneur should be building their business to sell one day, and make it very sell ready, right? And so then they sell it, and then they go back, and they're like, yeah, I might have money in the bank, but I've just torn my personal credit. I can't even get a home. What I mean? I've been living in my workshop for however long, and now I can't buy a home.
Yeah.
Or if I can, I have to put a whole lot of cash down. And who wants to do that?
Yeah. Before I ask you a few more details about your business, I want to know if there's been any surprises for you guys owning a business, like things that you've had to do that you were like, I didn't know I was going to have to do that.
I'll let our social media expert talk about that.
I was going to say, I think I'm the creative ADD brain, which is great, but I think this social media for entrepreneur or a solo or family owned business, I think, and because it's changed, I graduated from TCU many years ago, and so as we know, things have changed drastically. So it doesn't matter really your background. I think as an entrepreneur, the social media piece is a really big piece to swallow and to keep up with, and it's just a learning curve. And then you can pay someone to help you with it, and they're learning right along with you, and the guarantees and the analytics, and it's just such a huge monster is all I can say.
I commented on a LinkedIn post. So I have on my calendar every morning to interact on LinkedIn. And so I commented on a post this morning. It was somebody in my network that is they do marketing and digital marketing and stuff. And they had like a 7-page carousel of all these like numbers that you should be looking at. And I thought, is this what it looks like when I send reports to my clients and I tell them of the 7 numbers they should be looking at? Because it looked like, I mean, it was a whole nother language to me. And I was like, I don't know if you're trying to teach us or if you're just trying to prove the point that we need to hire this out. But either way, I'm convinced, like in 2025, Penny's going to be hiring out. Even though I love to get on and do live posts. Clearly, I love to talk to cameras. I have things in my head that are popping up all the time of ideas, but I just can never seem to, when I look at Facebook or I look at LinkedIn, especially Instagram, I get stuck. I'm like, I don't know. Is this a reel? Is this a post? Should I make it spin? Should I make it flash? Should it be just a picture of me? And then I get caught in indecision. And my son's girlfriend was over last night and I looked at her Instagram and I was like, how do you have 6,000 followers on Instagram? I'm like, been working at this and I've got 1,000. And I'm like, this is ridiculous, you know? And she's like, well, I created this reel and it was blah, blah, blah. And I was like, do you want a job? Because I need somebody to do that for me. And she was saying words and I was like, I don't know what those words mean. And, but I love to engage. But I'm like you guys, it's been so frustrating as an entrepreneur that you have to show up. That is somewhere that somebody can kind of get to know you and your team. And you guys especially need to do it because people need to know your team. And I have a team too, and I need to engage them and get them on there. But it's a place for people to kind of meet you from a distance and decide a little ahead of time before they get on. And I had somebody telling me that about their finances the other day, and she's a friend. And she's like, Penny, I feel like we're in the doctor's office and I'm naked with that gown on and my legs in the stirrups. I was laughing so hard, but that's what people, when they call people like you and people like me, that's what people feel like. And so social media is so incredibly necessary for you and for I to be able to engage people and to take down the walls because we don't have it all together. I don't have it all together. Do you guys don't have it all together, right?
No.
We don't.
I mean, I get constantly told y'all's face needs to be on your social media more. And I'm like, but I can put a graphic up very quickly, quicker than I can put on makeup. So let's go ahead and just use the graphic. So that's my downfall and my push for 25. Because if I don't,
You heard it here. Angie's face is going to be on social media more in 2025. I'm holding you to it.
Right. Yeah. Doing a charity event, a community charity event, it's like it or not, here I come because I'm going to be all over social media. My face will be.
Yeah. When I know I send people to you when they call me and ask me questions about credit. Talk to me about like what other when are people ready to call for credit repair help? When is it? I mean, let's be honest. You can Google it and figure out a lot of things.
Sure.
Or you can call and get some help.
Right.
And so, when is it that people are like at the place where they need to call you guys?
Right. Great question. I think getting our expertise in a consultative manner, the obvious is if you're trying to get a loan, a home loan, auto loan, business loan, even a solar loan. If you're trying to get a loan, you need to have a consult with us. It will be cheaper, paying 50 to 75 bucks for and 30 minutes to an hour is going to be, well worth your money before you get to those applications and you're having to spend money to get denied, right? So any loan application, obviously a financial planning scenario, newly married, just trying to get those budgeting scenarios, you're investing tee up to you as a bookkeeper, teeing up to a financial investor and so forth. So any kind of those financial plans, and then credit issues is a big statement. I say someone that's had identity theft, someone who's going through a divorce, someone who has just a life change, a death in the family. I think those are big pieces. Even someone who has been in, this is a really horrible one, but someone who's been in the foster care scenario and they turn 18, they need to be checking their credit. It's a
Mm.
huge piece of uh, fraud in our system is, those kids that have been through that program. So I think those, I meant to add three just so it was easy, but really a fourth one. So when you have those life changes, they need to be, reviewing their credit. I feel like we have been on the divorce council here lately, but just helping people go through those big life changes and managing their credit and looking for inaccuracies. What is it? 65, 70% of people have inaccuracies, and that can just, be cleaned up. Um, you know,
Yeah.
simplified with our expertise.
And,
How long do
and
people stay clients? Go
generally,
ahead,
it
Scott.
was well. I'll answer your question real quick. We generally say 3 to 6 months is a good kind of initial time frame. We'll reevaluate 3 months, 6 months, see if it's working, see if they're still engaged, see what the progress is basically. And then if it needs to go longer, we can obviously help them longer. Back to what Angie was saying, all those end clients, we partner very well with those businesses that interact with those clients. So mortgage, obviously real estate, but even counselors that are counseling people in foster, or divorce attorneys, or people, anybody that interacts with
Mhm.
those. I mean, coming from the financial services background, I always talk to financial advisors and say, it's amazing how many of them do not pull credit reports. And I just let them know, just pull the credit report and you'll get a whole
We don't get a
history on
commission for that.
what they've been doing, and so
Yeah, or haven't been doing.
or haven't been doing. So uh, we interact well with all those businesses as well. That's we're making a really good partner, whether it's um, value add or closing business from a real estate standpoint, getting them to a place where they're qualified for the loan. So that's what I would add to that.
Yeah, thank you.
Good, good. We talked about this one time at our networking event, Angie, but I want to say it to people because they don't know it. So a friend of mine came and asked me a few months ago, do you think that I should subscribe to the identity protection insurance and blah, blah, blah? And I told her, the first thing you do is you freeze your credit
Hmm. Hmm.
and freeze. And so I learned that a few years ago. And for me, I have aging parents, and sometimes they get scam calls and they are really realistic. So I have my parents' credit frozen. I have my in-laws' credit frozen, and I want to make sure that they're protected. So if you're watching and you don't know about credit freezing, you need to get it. Um, Credit, you can freeze your kids' credit, right,
Yep.
Angie?
Yep.
Freeze your kids' credit, freeze your grandparents' credit, freeze everybody's credit, because then somebody can't open a credit card in your name.
We have
And
a
it's so,
blog. We have a blog that has all the
oh, good.
links on it. So if you go to our
Oh, good.
website, Credit Repair USA, and just slash blog, it has a big like ice storm graphic.
Freeze.
And it's about freezing your credit and everybody's credit, and it gives you the links, so it makes it super simple to go to each bureau, and you can toggle it. Some people think it's such this overwhelming issue, and then you're froze forever, right? You're in the froze zone. Well, I mean,
It does make you pause
yeah, it
Yes.
makes you pause,
before you make a huge decision,
right?
because
But like,
it takes you logging in and unfreezing it and turning it off. So
right,
it does help with self-discipline. Be like,
yes,
you're not just randomly opening that JCPenney card because they offered you 15% off of your
that's
purchase.
right. Yeah, and then a fruit cake or something with
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
But yes, so I was going to say it's just a toggle switch, logging in and toggling it for 24 hours. It can be unfrozen. So we like changed our utility, electricity kind of thing, and we had to do that on the spot. And so they don't have to have the app; they can just sign back in, unfreeze it, and it'll freeze back up
Automatically.
automatically in 24 hours. So once you do it, it's a well-oiled machine on that.
It's the best kept secret.
Mm-hmm.
I taught I just did it with my 18-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
He applied for his first credit card, got his first
Good.
credit card,
Very
and
good.
he's paying it off every week and
Excellent.
using it. He said, "What do I use it for?" I said, "Use it for everything and pay it off every week." And so
Yeah.
he is. And
Good.
Mama is checking on that and making sure. I think it's a $500 credit. So even if he, gets into trouble, it's not disastrous.
Yeah.
And then I said, apply for that and then freeze your credit. And he
Mm-hmm.
did. So we're teaching our 18-year-old, here's how to
Right.
manage it. So
Yeah.
yeah.
That's
So
awesome.
cool.
Yeah,
So
that's one of the
cool.
key ones. We freeze your credit. That's key. I mean, that is
It's
so
the best
foundational,
kept
so easy.
secret.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Easy.
here's the deal. If it was widely known, everybody wouldn't be spending all the money on the identity theft insurance that is all over the TV,
Mm-hmm.
right?
It's true.
So
That's true.
the caveat, you're right. That's what we tell them is like, save your money, just freeze your credit. The only caveat is you still have to watch your open accounts.
Yes.
So if someone gets your credit card and it's an opened account, they can run it up and do everything on the open account. So it's only
But I know
new.
that instantly because I have we
Yeah.
use a Capital One
Right.
You can
card and I
control.
have
Yeah.
the app on my phone and I get a pop up every time something goes through. So like you said, Scott, it's just really about watching your open things and
Mm-hmm.
it'll tell me. And
Yes.
I love Capital One because they tell me this is weird. Are you
Yeah.
sure this is just you? And
Right.
so if your credit card's not asking you some questions once in a while, you need to
Yeah.
you
And
need to
most
be
credit card companies have those type of notifications. It's just again setting them up from the get go, and utilizing those notifications. I mean, we joke around because I'll be like, "You spent this at that," and they're like, oh, "How did you know?" And but once you've had fraud, you're like, want to stay
yeah.
on top of that.
Well, and we bank with Chase, and they have a credit score tracker. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how often it does it, but it sends you an
Yeah.
email all
Oh,
the
yeah.
time. Your
Score.
credit changed by one score, 1 point,
Right.
up or
Right.
down. Here's what changed.
Yeah.
And I know if it changed by very much, something ain't right because I haven't bought anything, And so that's another way to watch
Stay on
it.
top of it.
Get on that score tracker with your bank. Most banks are doing it nowadays and monitoring that stuff. So make sure you're just looking at it. You don't have to do a deep dive once a month. Just
Right.
take note. Did the number change very much? Why
Mm-hmm.
did it change? Yeah.
And kind of along those lines, but when we're talking about just with kids and so forth, and this is kind of another no-brainer, you'd think, but other authorized users, whether it's business credit or personal credit, again, those can work for you or against you, and it depends who's your lead on that. But for as on the personal side, as parents, you can have your kids as authorized users and they never have to have a card in hand. You can literally put that card in the sock drawer and they never have to have it, but their little name gets the benefit of your good credit history. Now it can work against you. Let's say the parent's not very responsible and whatever, but they've had him for 20 years, but then the parent, whatever. So as long as your
Yeah, I
lead
think I
and
have
you're not,
mixed feelings about that because I've seen this. This is a TikTok thing right now. Put your kids on as an authorized user. And
correct.
I'm thinking half of those people watching that TikTok video should not be putting their kids on. So I think I have mixed feelings about that because I want to set my kids up, but by the same token, I think no, I think I want them to build their own credit. So I don't know. We didn't
Well,
do that.
you can, what I'm saying is
Yeah.
they would have no spending. You order their name, the card goes in your sock drawer. They don't even know they have a card, but it does help them from the get-go. So I hear what you're saying. They should be
Mhm.
building it on their own. But again, that's kind of part of that game. If you learn the leverage and you make
Yeah.
those good habits, that can be very beneficial.
Speaking,
Yeah.
I'll just throw a little with public service PSA, public service announcement in there. Speaking of lines of credit and authorized users, you'll see out on the internet, and we have to unwind these or at least explain where people can buy lines of credit.
Trade lines.
So I could I've got a great credit card, Chase card, since I've had, it's 20 years. It's got a $50,000 credit limit. I've got, it's just a perfect card to have. I could sell that to you and put your name, not sell it, but I could put your name on it as an authorized user, and then you get credit for all my credit card use. So if you're trying to qualify for a loan, it boosts your credit up really quick. You're paying me $500 a month to have that on there. Your credit score goes up, you buy the house, you cancel that, your credit score goes down that much, and I've made $500 on my credit card. I don't even know who you are. And so those are out there. We strongly advise against that, partially because of what you're saying is,
unfortunately, it's not illegal. It's very shady, but it's not illegal. They should be making it illegal, but go ahead.
So it's out there. We tell people, build your credit the way you were talking about it. Do it yourself because you have control over it. You're not paying a monthly fee, $500, $300, whatever. They have different. You're not paying that monthly to keep your credit score up. Do it yourself. Open up your own credit cards, build your credit. If you need an authorized user, get it from mom, dad, husband, wife, someone very close that's going to do it for free. Do it because they love you. They want to help you.
And that's very responsible.
And very responsible. So it's, anyways, that's out there. PSA.
We get a call every day about it.
I have never heard of this. How do people think of these things?
Yeah, I mean, it's out there. So it's
they're
just
out there.
We have shocking. People that will ask us if we do it, and so to all your listeners out there,
we don't do trade lines.
We don't do trade lines,
and we cringe when someone asks us. Please don't do that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, because credit worthiness, buying a house and being credit worthy to buy a house, it's a very personal thing. It's very important. And as a society, we're all going to pay for it. If there's a whole bunch of foreclosures, we saw that back in 2008, 2007. Right. We saw that as a society. So we don't want to contribute to that. We want the people that are getting house loans to be worthy to have those house loans and be ready for them. So there's lending guidelines for a reason.
That's right.
Yes.
And I'm just floored that exists. Yes. I just learned something. My mind is blown, Scott. At first I was like, well, dang, I need to sell me an authorized user.
Well, sell that to your son.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I'll prospect that with him.
Yeah.
How that goes. Scott and Angie, it's been wonderful having you guys here. I'm so excited. If you'll stay on for just a few minutes after I end, then I'll wrap up with you guys. I actually have somewhere, I just thought of a thing that I need to invite you guys to because you talked about the foster care thing. So I'm very excited to do this. Next week, we will not be having a live. So if you're just dying to join me next Tuesday, it's December 24th. It's Christmas Eve. You should probably just hang out with your family. And I will be doing the same thing. I'll be cooking some sweets and eating some fiber before I have them. That's right. And on the 31st, the same thing. So we actually won't be having any lives until after the first of the year, but stay tuned because I'm really excited. I have some really great guests lined up and we're going to have a lot of fun. So
we are blessed to be your last interview
of the year.
Everybody have a Merry Christmas.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you. Merry Christmas, everybody.